Wow, it's a nice jacket shirt. Godfrey is in a spiritual mood this morning. Lots of good stories for us. Let's start with the Ghanaian Times.
The Ghanaian Times says ongoing voter registration exercise. EC captures 182,831 nationwide in 6 days as it parries voter suppression allegation. Something that will excite Godfrey though, no uncertainty about 13th African Games. LOC to host competition March 8 to 23. That's next year. That's according to Dr. Fuswasari.
I'm going to the tournament.
Oh, yes,
You and I will be there.
it's important. And Dolly Bridge linking Wa Kumasi washed away. Passengers stranded. And police investigate alleged rape, murder of woman at Arian Kwanta.
Front page of the Daily Graphic on the matter of police promotions. 40 chief inspectors sue IGP. Beware of scammers, GTEC cautions mature students. And limited voters registration, EC revises target. I'll tell you why.
Okay, if you go to the Finder newspaper, it says EC rejects claims of collusion with MPP, promises to register all eligible voters. Killer house boy accepts responsibility, begs for leniency. Cocoa manufacturing SMEs, Lord government's plan to supply them beans. And 22-year-old lady suspected of being raped to death. And 3 visually impaired siblings appeal for support.
I'll take you to the Daybreak newspaper's front page. As Senso Boachi is dirty, says Kennedy at Japan. He was in Kumasi granting interviews. Yes, Thursday is Kwame Nkrumah holiday. Hey. Aloski noted. Thursday is Kwame Nkrumah holiday. That's the front page of the Daybreak.
Is that a threat or an announcement?
It is an announcement.
Okay. The Chronicle says Alan Cash shocked over CPP link. Hey. Other stories. Accra commando slapped in traffic case. Judge suggests out of court settlement. And front page comment, CDS should please stop creating fear and panic. That's what the Chronicle is saying. And women's role critical in breaking the 8. That's according to Cecilia Jan.
I'll take you to the front page of the Anchor newspaper. They're also dealing with the Alan and the Green Street combo. It's rubbish. Alan not in talks with CPP's Ivor Green Street. EC registration turns bloody at Agona West. Saw that story yesterday. And journalists to stage demo over terrible Malam Kaswa highway.
The business analyst says demand for US dollar continues to outstrip supply as Citi loses 0.43% value to American greenback. Ken Oforiatta is speaking to ECOWAS leaders. Apply medium to long-term solutions to address adverse economic challenges. And EC not seeking to disenfranchise eligible voters. That's according to Jean Mensah.
And a front page of the Daily Guide, Nana Pia Mensah, a.k.a. NAM1, faces court today. The EC's update is here. Julius Debra changes gear in Mahama running mate bid. That story will not go away. And of course, the Daily Guide still running with the murder of Princess Efia Ahinkai, killed by 22-year-old Alistair John, and cites a confession: I killed my madam.
But the Economic Times says BOG reviews health of economy. February 2023 exchange reopened. ESLA, Dachi bondholders directly invited. And BOG urges banks to tender capital restoration plan for a progressive recapitalization.
Recapitalization also on the front page of the Graphic Business. Recapitalization of BOG must be prioritized. And also, if you go to the front page of the BNFT, market tilts toward policy rate retention.
All right. Did you do the Economic Times already?
Yes.
Let's take you online. A few more headlines for you. Asanteni says military takeovers not the solution to Africa's economic challenges. Also, it will be difficult for MPP to win 2024. This is Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. He also says that Ghana has not had any transformational leader since Kwame Nkrumah. In other stories, our contest Bekwai parliamentary seat. This is COP Mensa. And then 126 factories now operational. Over 160k jobs created. Katie Hammond on 1D1F. And then the NDC is alleging that EC is colluding with MPP to disenfranchise Ghanaians. Meanwhile, the EC has come out to react to some of those allegations in a press statement. If you go to myjoyonline.com, there's stories there. Government is still spending as though there was no crisis. Professor Bokpin on reopen DDEP. Also, inclusion of pensioner ben holders in new program is an error. Edouanane is not happy. Then the chilling account of how house help murdered his madam in cold blood in Kumasi. And then EC registers 182,831 in first 6 days, according to the EC boss. Citi Business News. Ghana tops African countries with highest debt with IMF. Also, 1D1F 126 factories now operational, over 160k jobs created. This is KT Hammond. And then pensioner board holders are petitioning finance ministry. They reject the new DDEP. Star FM halt voter registration if you received injunction. Jantua to EC. Also be prepared for the consequences of non-payment of our allowance. Teu to government. And then Kennedy Japan says Dampare has been exceptional in fight against robbery. So he gets an endorsement there from Mr. Ejepong. A few other stories. About 10% of Libya flood deaths were migrants. This is BBC's Africa page reporting this morning. And then a few other stories. There's a spat between India and Canada. Reuters is reporting that India has expelled Canadian diplomats, saying they are concerned about anti-India activities. You know, so those are some of the headlines making the rounds across the world. Let's start with the Electoral Commission and their updates on the registration.
Yes, page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. And the EC says it has registered a total of 182,831 eligible voters in the first 6 days of its ongoing limited voter registration exercise. And they gave some detail. Now, the Ashanti region has the highest number, 29,255. That represents 16%. The Greater Accra follows with 14.9%, and it goes on and on and on, with the Upper West getting the lowest figure, 5,241, representing 2.9%. So the EC's chairperson, Jean Mensah, gave these details at the Let the Citizen Know media engagement in Accra yesterday.
I'll give you some further updates on that if you go to page 17 of, well, different leg to that, page 17 of the Daily Graphic. Ongoing limited voter registration. EC chairs action on constitutional. Samuel Okujoto Ablakwa. He has said the action by the EC to limit the ongoing voter registration exercise to district officers was unconstitutional, illogical, autocratic, and amounted to voter suppression. According to him, Mr. Ablakwa says they have a plan B that they are currently keeping under wraps. Then went on to outline some of the difficulties that people were going through. So, for instance, transportation cost from Japan to the Volta River banks cost 23 Ghana cedis. And commuters pay about 10 Ghana cedis each to use the canoe to cross the river to Bato and then join a motorbike to the center. The situation becomes even dire when each person will have to travel with 2 guarantors to Bato to register. So the EC and the MP and his team have put in place some measures to deal with this. Now, Mr. Ablakwa also spoke about how, on average, an individual may have to travel between 70 and 90 kilometers from different locations to the center. Again, on this same exercise, on the same page, violence rocked the ongoing Electoral Commission's limited voters registration exercise to Kaikwe North and Agona West constituencies, the Greater Accra and Central regions, respectively. In the Agona West constituency, some toys allegedly inflicted machete wounds on a member of the NDC during the exercise. And then at the Kaikwe North constituency, unidentified men allegedly stormed the EC's district office to attack some registrants without any provocation, leaving about 15 people injured.
All right.
Well, just staying with that quickly, the EC boss also stated that there were plans to roll out a continuous registration exercise in all its district offices nationwide in 2024 for what she described as a considerable length of time. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go to page 11 of the Ghanaian Times, where they give details of the Dolly Bridge linking Wa and Kumasi getting washed away. Now, it says a section of the Wa Kumasi Highway in the Bole district of the Savannah region has been cut off following a 12-hour downpour on Sunday. Now, the downpour started at 12 a.m. It caused the Dolly Dam to overflow its bank, and it led to the collapse and washing away of the Dolly Bridge, which links the Bole Bamboy district to the Sola Tuna Kauba district. So that's the image there. Very, very, very distinct.
There's another story that will interest you on page 56 of the Daily Graphic. Fetu Afashe was grand, but Accra Cape Coast gridlock denies access. Brilliant writing by Chris Nunu, who gave plaudits to the people of Cape Coast for the Fetu Afashe in Ugwa. But in spite of all these, a major concern which could derail the gains was the unmotorable portions of the Accra Cape Coast Road and the dangerous portions as well. The road has outlived its usefulness and has been described by many as not fit for purpose. And then he describes how on Friday, September 1, thousands that were on the road to be part of the celebration had to endure close to 2 hours of frustration in traffic just to cross from Kaswa to Ewutu Breku, a journey of about 20 minutes. The experience was no different when the visitors were returning to Accra from September 4, because part of that road had flooded along the Tuba Junction toll booth after some rains. Now, this is the part that the journalist wants to demonstrate in respect of.
Yes, if you go to page 3 of the Anchor newspaper, they talk about the demo that is loading, apparently being organized by journalists who reside in that part of town. So, journalists who reside around Weja, Botiano, West Hills area, Tuba, Amanfrum, and Broadcasting Siadine are looking to demonstrate about the poor nature of the roads there. The Anchor newspaper also observed the situation around Old Barrier, the Atala section of the highway in the Gasouth municipality, and it has frequently caused gridlock, significantly extending commuting hours during rush hour.
All right. Now, let me take you to a couple of stories that will interest you. 1D1 FCT Business News is reporting that 126 factories have been now operational, over 160,000 jobs created. Katie Amon is speaking. The new Minister for Trade and Industry, Katie Amon, has said that 126 projects are currently in operation under the government's 1D1F policy. According to him, about 300 established companies are also at various stages of completion, actively taking part in the supply chain. He was speaking at the Ghana Industrial Summit and Exhibition 2023 on September 18, organized by AGI. Katie Amon highlighted a number of direct and indirect jobs the 1D1F had provided. Now, that's a good story. But on the flip side, Ghana tops African countries with highest debt with IMF. That's on the same website. So Ghana has maintained its spot as Africa's most indebted country to the International Monetary Fund. Now, the debt at the IMF increased by 35% over the time period under consideration per data from the IMF's quarterly finances, July ending this year. This accounts for 9.55% of the 17.6 billion special drawing rights in total loans. Out of the 5 categories of largest outstanding loans as of that period, Ghana's SDR stood at 1.69 billion, higher than the 1.24 billion recorded in April. Now, the other countries mentioned in that category are Kenya, DRC, who are the second and third largest debtors to the fund. Now, I'm bringing this story because we go to Joy Online. Professor Godfrey Bokwin says government is spending as though there was no crisis. Right now, he is saying that economist Professor Godfrey Bokwin is berating the government for not sticking to its side of the bargain to adjust fiscal expenditure amidst the country's debt sustainability crisis, for which reason creditors had taken a haircut to save the situation. He was speaking on PM Express and says he's surprised that the government continues to spend and is asking for more people to come for a debt exchange in a very difficult time for Ghanaians. So that was Bokwin's view on the matter.
Well, let me take you to the police on the front page of the Daily Graphic, where 40 chief inspectors have sued the IGP and the Attorney General, according to a story by Emmanuel Lebo-Hoxton. In a writ filed at the Kumasi High Court, the police officers claimed they were excluded from a series of promotions prompted by a special amnesty granted to police officers who passed out from police training schools by 2008 and had obtained university degrees as of 2020. This is the case of the 40 police officers that, in spite of serving between 25 and 30 years in the police service, the police administration had promoted their junior colleagues to other ranks under the same special amnesty, but had refused to afford them the same treatment to aid their entry into the police academy in furtherance of their promotions to the ranks of assistant superintendent of police. Now, as part of the defense, the IGPs and the Attorney General, who are being defended by State Attorney Kweku Boakye-Boateng, they have argued that the suit has no merit and therefore have urged the cause to dismiss it. They have the contention that the IGP had powers to only promote junior officers up to the rank of chief inspectors upon the recommendations of the Appointments and Promotions Advisory Board, while promotions above the rank of chief inspector were under the purview of the Police Council upon the recommendation of the APAB.
All right. So we've heard that. The other story, I'm sure you've heard, the COP Mensah is running for MP. He says he wants to be MP for Bekwai.
And Kennedy Agyapong is also telling the government not to remove the current IGP.
Indeed, he's actually, if you read the story on Star FM's website, he's basically saying that the IGP has overseen significant reduction in robberies across the country due to the changes he introduced in the police service. And he was speaking yesterday. He said even though there had been some disagreements with the IGP in the past, he believes his performance as police chief has been outstanding. If you go to the police headquarters, you will realize that the man, Dampare, has done well. I fought with him once because of his refusal to act when the killers of JB Dankwa confessed to him but he's done really well. How many times have you heard of armed robbery since Dan Parry was made IGP? People were being killed and their money being stolen in broad daylight. How many times have you seen this since Dan Parry came into office? I've called one of the guys in the league tip who is from my village and blasted him. We don't like change. The MPP firebrand told Kumasi base Kesben FM. So enough on the police stories. I want to give you guys quickly some two stories from the point of view yesterday. Professor Frimpong Boateng is in the news and he says it will be difficult for MPP to win election 2024. This was after a direct question about breaking the 8. In an interview on the point of view, the former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation said it will be difficult for the governing MPP to retain political power based on the party's performance in the last 7 years. He also said that the opposition NDC was not giving him any hope, suggesting that neither party was a good option for Ghana. He also says Ghana has not had any transformational leader since Kwame Nkrumah. Speaking in relation to a letter he wrote to Ghana's next president, he says that there was absence of political will and transformational leadership since Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown. And he says Ghana's Vice Prime Minister Kwame Nkrumah was the country's sole transformational leader, adding that the death of such leaders in the years following Nkrumah's leadership had contributed to Ghana's current economic woes.
Well, on page 18 of the Daily Graphic again, Adwoa Safo Sikri election constituency chairman. This is Robert Osebonsu, who is the Dom Kwabenya constituency chairman of the NPP. It says nothing stops the sitting member of parliament for the area, but she has to go through.
She expressed interest.
Yes, it says they don't have a problem, but she will go through the process.
Keep an eye on that seat for their primaries. Yes. Lots of interesting things may happen. Let's come to the Economy Times. What do you have for us?
Well, the Economy Times is saying the Bank of Ghana is calling on all commercial banks operating in the country to tender in their capital restoration plans for a progressive recapitalization over a 3-year period. Now it says the exercise is as a result of a turnaround in banks' profits and planned equity capital injections. And the aim is to rebuild banks' capital buffers, enhance resilience, and position the sector to support the country's growth agenda.
There's an interesting story here. How KIA officials seize the Ghanaian gold ring bangle for gold for oil policy. Kwesi Pratt is the one they attribute the story to. And it says Ghanaian senior journalist and editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt, has narrated how a Ghanaian man who was traveling out of the country through the KIA got his valuables confiscated by airport officials. He says officials seized the gold ring and bracelets of the man with the excuse that Ghana was broke and his valuables were going to be used for gold for oil policy implemented by the president's government. A Ghanaian man was traveling out of the country when he got to Kotoka International Airport. They seized the gold ring and bangles he was wearing. The KIA officials told him that the country was broke and that it needed gold to go and buy oil. Narrating the incident on his Facebook page, he was informed of the incident by the man's sister, who is an officer of the Ghana Police Service. I mean, imagine this. They seized the guy's wedding ring. But I feel like all the cameras at the airport should be able to capture some of these things. You know, because some of this is just terrible. The kind of treatment they mete out to travelers in the name of trying to check their bags. This is so bad.
And then finally, for me, on the page 6 of the Daily Guide, the number one will be in court today. I think that will be like his 38th court appearance.
These are the new charges, right?
Yes, the new one. So we'll see how that one goes and provide further updates.
So, but have you not given the Alan story? Alan said he's shocked at the link to
let me
let's
give
give it down quickly.
Now, Alan Chemanting, who is the former Minister of Trade, says he's shocked over a report of his intended alliance with the CPP's Ivor Greenstreet. Now, highly placed sources close to the former minister told the Chronicle that the reports carried by the media could not be true. The Chronicle was told on Monday, September 18, that no discussion relative to Alan partnering with Ivor Greenstreet had been initiated. And according to Alan's camp, which was yet to respond to the claim officially, the report was propaganda aimed at causing disaffection between Alan and the ruling MPP.
All right. Aloski, why is it that all the state people, they are giving themselves awards like that?
Giving themselves or collecting awards?
Yeah, collecting awards. Everybody's collecting awards.
You are the only one who is not collecting. You are the one who is not serious. You are not serious. You are not taking your post seriously.
This one is going.
Let me do the DVLA story.
Award.
So we are told that DVLA is partnering universities to introduce the tertiary drivers project. It's an interesting story. And Ama Kofi Boy and others lead celebration of Osachifo Kwame Nkrumah's birthday. That's happening.
That's on Thursday.
Yes, that's happening.
We will celebrate it, you and I.
Then another one that you need to think about: demand for US dollar continues to outstrip supply as Citi loses 0.43% of value to the American greenback. Keep
Oh,
an eye
is
on
that so?
Keep an eye on that story
We'll be checking it.
as well. So that's all we have time for on the newspaper review.